Hey, it's Uncle Ken, and some interesting discussion today for you around sales. I was in sales capacity primarily as an account manager and account executive, basically an outside sales guy for up to 45 years, 8 or so years with Apple, 18 years with Dell. So it's been a fair amount of time, primarily calling on corporate customers, although I did call on some universities and some government facilities, but primarily corporate America. And it was a great learning experience, made more than my share of mistakes and screw ups, but you learn, right? You make your mistakes, you learn, and you move on. And I think I learned a lot. So I'm going to share some of that stuff with you. If you're ever thinking of going into sales, you will probably never hear any of this in any university, 2-year community college, or anywhere you're ever going to go. In fact, you'll see a book or whatever a video on the 5 tips to successful selling, and I'm like, oh shoot, I thought there were only 4. So the first thing to know about sales is don't try to sell anything to people. Just sort of listen to what they have to tell you. It's amazing how if you approach someone as a listener rather than a salesperson, it's amazing the reaction you will get. Whether you're in retail sales, selling TVs or furniture or mattresses or cars or whatever, or whether you're selling to the largest corporations in the world, which is kind of what I did, you really have to program yourself to tone down your sales training, tone down all your sales qualifying questions, and trying to manipulate or maneuver the customer into doing what you want them to do. Customers smell that a mile away, and they're sort of put off by it. They might humor you, but underneath they're saying, gosh, this guy or this gal is really disgusting. I don't want to be sold anything today. So stop trying so hard. So first and most important thing to do as a salesperson is learn to listen to your customers. It's amazing what you'll learn. I'll give you an example of what not to do. I worked with large global corporate accounts. I worked with mid-sized corporate accounts, and I worked with what we'd call small and medium business corporate accounts. I was calling on this is a chain. I won't mention any names, but this was a chain of restaurants out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Great food, great chain. And I was working with a guy to sell him some, the VP of IT, not a guy, the VP of IT. And he said, hey, Ken, I need about 10 restaurants to have firewalls in them. So I'm thinking, okay, he's got 10 restaurants he's budgeting for. And he said, I have a signing capacity of $50,000. So if I go over $50,000 in signing, say, a purchase rec to purchase your equipment, I've got to get the CEO and a whole bunch of people, the CFO, a whole bunch of people have to sign off on it. But if you can keep your project below $50,000, I can sign off on it. I can buy it from you. I'm like, cool. So guess how much my project cost? $49,986. That's exactly how much it cost. He said, cool, and he bought it 2 weeks later. So I'm sitting on a forecasting call, remember those words, which is really a beat down or a sweat down call where 8 or 10 field sales guys and gals are sitting on a conference call or on a Zoom call, and they're being sweated down about their forecast. Okay, what are you forecasting? When is it coming in? What do you have to do to close the sale? Who's got to sign off on it? All this sweat down stuff happens every week in every company that I've ever known of. You pick it. Cisco's doing them. Dell's doing them. Oracle's doing them. They're all doing them. So I'm sitting on this call, and you're hearing your teammates, and one of the teammates said, yeah, I was calling on a customer, and he said he only had a $50,000 signing capability. So I'm thinking, this is interesting. Let's see what this guy did. He said, so I ended up handing him a proposal with the price tag of $51,200. And he didn't buy it. He just moved on. Thinking, The guy told you what you needed to close the sale. He told you it had to be under $50,000. He told you that was his signing limit. And yet, even with that information, you put a $51,200 quote in front of the guy, and you're wondering why you lost the sale. Stop wondering, dude. That guy in 90 days was no longer with the company. I'm not sure if that was the reason, but that's an excellent example. Listen to what your customer's telling you. More often than not, they will tell you what you need to make the sale, the kind of budgeting capability and sign-off capability they have, who you need to talk to other than them to help make the sale. You just got to ask them and then listen. So my number one most important lesson in sales, listen to your customer. I don't care how big the customer is, how big the project is. My number two chief tip, treat them the way you want to be treated. It's the golden rule in the Bible, and it's the golden rule in sales. It's amazing. I had pretty incredible success. I'll go into some of the successes I had later. But you got to treat customers like you want to be treated. I've had people, and I'd be interviewing for a new job at a new company, and they say, geez, Ken, what is your key for being so successful in sales? And I said, oh, it's easy. I listen to the customers and I treat them the way they want to be treated. And it's amazing how many people look at me cross-eyed and go, you do what? You're not supposed to treat customers the way you want to be treated. You're supposed to manipulate them and get them to do things on your timeline and get them to buy your product. Nope. None of that stuff works if they don't like you. And if you're always trying to sell them something and not listening to them and don't treat them the way you want to be treated as a customer, they're never going to buy anything from you. So rule 2, treat them the way you want to be treated. No one wants to be pressured or beat down or cornered and manipulated into making a purchasing decision. I don't care how big it is. It could be a $10,000 sale. It could be a $10 million sale. It could be a $100 million sale. People want you to treat them the way you want to be treated in the same situation. So courteous, listen, show up to meetings on time. It's amazing. People with big titles after their name, like vice president of sales, people who couldn't show up to meetings on time. Be courteous. Show you understand how valuable a customer's time is, and never be late. Ever, ever, ever. Call in sick. Tell them you ran over your foot with a lawnmower. Do whatever you got to do for an excuse, but never show up late to a customer, ever. Oh, the traffic was bad. I live in Southern California. The traffic's always bad. It's never an excuse for being late. But I got to tell you, went to a lot of meetings where my VP of sales that was supposed to be at my elbow didn't show up. Half hour late. Oh, I'm sorry, I got stuck in traffic. I'm sitting there with the CTO or the CFO or the CEO, or the CISO or the VP of, I'll tell you all that, all those acronyms mean, VP of IT, and here a VP of sales for your company shows up a half hour late. Meanwhile, everything's already been discussed. You're not going to go back to square one for the VP. So be on time, be courteous, listen to the customer, treat them the way you wanted to be treated if you were in the exact same situation. People are going to look at you really crazy when you tell them that's the secret to sales. They're going to, oh no, you got to use Salesforce. Let's talk about Salesforce for a minute, should we? It's called a customer relationship management product. Salesforce is a leader in the business. And if you think about the title of that product, Salesforce, what do you think it would do? What it really does is it allows management to micromanage their Salesforce. And does it make sense? That's the name of the product, Salesforce. So what do customers use it for? I don't care. Oracle, Cisco, Dell, Intel, you pick the customer, and I guarantee you they're using Salesforce to micromanage their salespeople. Why? They generally don't understand sales. They generally don't understand their salespeople, especially the ones that are successful. I can't tell you how many times that I would bring in a large PO, multi-million-dollar PO, and VP of sales would just look at me with a blank stare like, how do you do this? You make this look so easy. How do you do this? They had no idea how to close a sale. Seen it happen many more times than once. So Salesforce, customer relationship management tool, they can be helpful for, maybe having some background information on the account, maybe understanding a few of the decision makers at the account. But they're kind of worthless beyond that. And they're really designed to let sales management micromanage the sales force. So you're not going to look for a lot of help in Salesforce. You'll never sell anything to anybody using Salesforce. You'll never get a PO out of Salesforce, ever. You're never going to make an appointment out of Salesforce. It's just not going to happen. And I've actually been in meetings where a guy with VP after his name said, I don't want anyone using email in this company. I only want you using Salesforce. That's your main tool. Your main productivity tool should be Salesforce. Yeah, it's kind of kludgy, really hard to send emails. I think Microsoft Outlook is kind of a pretty good program if you want to get a hold of someone. Now, why would I say that? Because everybody has Microsoft Outlook. Everybody uses it in corporate America. There are literally hundreds of millions of users for Microsoft Outlook. It's the industry standard. It's a business productivity tool, but it's largely an email. And how do you get a hold of customers? You either call them on the phone or you send them an email. So Salesforce, be real wary of people that tell you Salesforce is our Bible here. It's what we live off of. It's going to really help you to become successful. Probably not. The only thing that's really going to help is the company to micromanage you as a salesperson. And micromanagement, my tip to sales managers that are listening to this, don't do it. If you have hired the right salespeople, you shouldn't have to micromanage them. The flip side, if you've got to micromanage your sales team, you've hired the wrong people. It's that simple. It's your fault, not theirs. You hired the wrong salespeople. So sales managers that are listening to this, don't rely on Salesforce to micromanage your sales team. First of all, it really pisses your sales team off. I guarantee if you do that, and believe me, I've been in that world, every salesperson gets pissed off just hearing the name Salesforce. So sales management, don't micromanage your sales team. Hire the right salespeople up front. You won't have to micromanage them. If anything, they might have to micromanage you, which I had to do on a number of occasions. So let me tell you about one. I was calling on a very large healthcare organization. I'm not going to mention any names. And I was at Dell, I will mention that name, and they were what we called an HP shop. All of their laptops, all of their desktops, all of their servers said HP on them. So we had taken a run at this healthcare organization, 3 years prior. Michael Dell himself had called on them. And when I made my first call into purchasing, the director of purchasing said, geez, Ken, we're an HP shop. And we're about to let an RFP for desktops and notebooks. And it was going to be for 125,000 of them. And the project ended up being, oddly enough, worth $125 million. Biggest sale I was ever involved in. So the director of purchasing looks me in the eye and says, by the way, Michael Dell himself tried to win our business 3 years ago and couldn't do it. What makes you think you will? And I said, you know something? I'm not sure if I'm going to win your business or not. All I ask for is a fair chance to win your business. Give me a fair and equal chance, and then it's all on me to win your business. That's all I ask for. He said, done, you got it. I said, cool. So we went back and forth, and we had some demonstrations of different products and meetings of dozens of decision makers and talking about technology. And we provided them with some quotations for some desktops and notebooks. They wanted us to take the old machines off their desk, wipe their hard drives, install that information on their new hard drives, install their desktop or laptop. So it was a pretty extensive project, 125,000 devices. So we won the RFP. 4 months, really diligent, a lot of meetings. Guess what? It was pre-Salesforce. We didn't use Salesforce. And we're working on a $125 million deal. People nowadays go, oh my God, you could never close that deal without Salesforce. Well, we did. Who knew? Anyway, back to the large healthcare organization. So we won the first round. We won after 4 months of infighting and arm wrestling. We were awarded the deal, only to have the deal rescinded the next week. And they let another RFP. So we won the first RFP. They canceled that. And they put a second RFP in the street. A lot of people were really upset that we beat HP. So we won the second RFP. We won it again 4 months later. We're 8 months into the mission. 8 months. We won the second RFP. And that one was canceled next week. It was unbelievable. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, third RFP comes and goes. We're told they're boiling it down to 2 vendors, Dell, my vendor, and HP. And they invited us both into a hotel room. And we were in one conference room, and literally 4 doors down, HP was in another. So they were literally sweating us both down for the best deal. So we gave them the best deal. And we ended up winning the third RFP. This was literally 1 year in the making, 1 full year in the making. So we won it. I get a call from the director of purchasing. He says, hey, Ken, you're going to get our business. I said, this is outstanding. Thank you so much. We've put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm glad you've chosen our company. And he said, but we're not going to buy the equipment from you. I said, what? He said, we're going to buy the equipment, and I'm not going to use this company's name. We're going to buy the equipment from XYZ supplier. I said, who's XYZ supplier? And he said, oh, we buy millions of latex gloves and syringes from that company. I said, oh, do they resell computers? He said, no, they know nothing about computers, but we're buying your computers from them. And if you don't agree to it, we're giving the business to HP. I said, I'll agree to it. It's going to take me a while to figure out how to do this, but consider it done. So we worked behind the scenes with XYZ company, and we figured out how to sell our equipment and services through them. One of the more unusual situations I've ever been in. I said, geez, why do you want to use XYZ company? And he proceeded to tell me this. He said, the CEO and president of this healthcare organization sit on the board of XYZ company, and they stand to make some money if you go through that company. And my brain just froze. I had no idea what to say about that. So I just said, okay. So very interesting sales cycle. Without listening to them, without going through the pain of 3 different RFPs, and then at the very end, without having the president of purchasing saying, Ken, we're only going to buy your equipment through XYZ company. Had I said no anywhere along the line, we wouldn't have won that deal. We won that deal. At that time, that was the 5th largest deal that the company I was working for had ever closed. $125 million. Largest deal I ever closed. But we had to win it, then have it canceled, win it, have it canceled, win it for a 3rd time, and then be threatened if we didn't do the business through this most favored company that sold them syringes and latex gloves, we weren't going to get the business. So it's easy. What was I going to do? I was going to sell the stuff through the XYZ company. There was no decision to be made. I had to have some internal discussions around it, but you listen to the customer, they'll tell you what you need to close the deal. It's that simple. It's no more complicated than that. If you don't listen to the customer, the chances of you closing the deal, I don't care if you're selling a car or a TV or a mattress or $125 million worth of computers. You're not going to close a sale. Listen to what they have to say. They will tell you what you need to close a sale. Let's talk about that for a minute. You know, they say when a salesperson, how can you tell when a salesperson is lying? Their lips are moving. It's an old joke. I will tell you that a lot of people laugh at that joke. They think it's very funny. In fact, so do I, right? So, saw a study. This is years ago, but I'm sure it still holds true. They did a study on the factors that impact a sale. And this was for quote unquote big ticket items, like people buying homes or cars or computing, right? So it's kind of the business I was in. And it said, it isn't price. Everyone thinks, oh, if I got the cheapest price, I'm going to win the deal. That wasn't the number one factor. It wasn't even technical specs. Do I have the best mileage in my car? Do I have the most comfortable sought after mattress? Do I have the fastest server in the world? It wasn't specs. So it wasn't price. It wasn't specs. So what was it? What was the number one factor they found out that affected people's buying decisions? It was their ability to trust the salesperson. Did they believe what the salesperson was saying? Did they think the salesperson was just stringing them along or telling them what they wanted to hear? Or was the salesperson treating them the way they would want to be treated if they were a salesperson? Was the salesperson listening to them? So the trustworthiness of the salesperson was the number one criteria for people's decision making. How odd. If you're a salesperson, be real, be trustworthy, listen to your customer, you will succeed. Now, most of your sales managers will have no idea what you're doing. They won't understand what you're doing at all, but you'll succeed. Last tip, the two best movies you'll ever watch about sales, The Big Kahuna and Glengarry Glen Ross. If you're in sales, you've got to watch those two movies. And the best book you'll ever read in sales isn't the 5 steps to making a sale. Like I said, oh darn, I thought there was only 4. Nope. It's The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And warfare is very similar to sales. We'll have a whole different discussion in video on The Art of War. So homework assignment, watch Glengarry Glen Ross, watch The Big Kahuna, and read The Art of War. I'll have a part 2 on this someday. Good luck, and remember, sell your socks off.